Hello and welcome back to Ride Rescue, and welcome back to the complicated front bumper of a 2019 Ram 1500. These outer pieces will need to get in. This one holds the inner fender well, has a bolt here on the bottom and a bolt here on the top. This piece that goes right along the top, right below the headlight, and it attaches with the push pins along here, and it also has double stick adhesive that runs along this backside. Where I had peeled it off, it only had a couple of small areas that actually bonded. It's probably just so that it doesn't rattle. I'm just going to put it right along the two spots that it actually bonded before. Press it in good and peel off the backing. I'll start by lining up the bolt, and then I'll line up the push pin holes and then put pressure on that. And you should leave pressure on it for 30 seconds to a minute just to give it a good adhesion. Yeah, that held really well. Alright, do the other side, and then I'll start setting in all of the structural pieces. In fact, before I do that, I think I'll put the air dam that goes across the bottom. And this air dam has a whole bunch of studs already mounted on it, and then all the bolts that go to the back side. This piece, I'm not sure how they attach, but it was nice that they were included with this. It does have some plastic guide pins. Snap in. This has some plastic push pins. Okay. That connects to the bumper there, that connects to the bumper there, and then I'm assuming these will connect to that inner brace. So I'll just keep these out of the way. While I'm in here, I decided I better look at the license plate piece. In Utah, it's the law. You have to have a front license plate. Otherwise, I would have left it off. But it does mount from the outside, 4 bolts. So nothing I have to do from the inside here. So I'll toss that aside for now. And it comes with instructions. All the complication. And it tells me how to put in 4 bolts. So I've got these 2 C-nuts in place, and that's for these 2 main brackets. The other 2 brackets I don't have all of the bolts and clips for, but at least I'll be able to figure out what steps I need to go to next. It's going to be tricky. The wires just don't quite work. Another thing I have to play around with. Figure out if the wire needs to go across the top or if it needs to go across the bottom. But it's got to go across the top. It can't go across right here because that's where it mounts to the frame. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull this back out because the wires are all getting smashed right here, especially those sensors. Back to the drawing board. Okay, so I moved the wires down, brought them around the outside of the fog light, and these push pins now line up. And now I'm finding there's holes all along the bottom edge of this bracket. So that wire will go all along the bottom edge. And then this one I need to bring around the outside of the fog light here. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up these four, and then I can put this piece on. And since this sensor is missing, you can see what I did is I pushed the sensor through, taped it to this clip, so when that sensor shows up, it's really difficult to get to the back side of this, but I will be able to just put it in, clip it together, and slide it into place, in theory. But I'm pretty sure, looking from the other side, that I'll be able to do that. There's just enough room there. I'll be able to just snap everything together on the back side. So this is looking great. So go ahead and finish tightening up a few of these bolts. These other ones, there's 6 more here that are still missing that I'll have to wait on. But at least I've got everything lined up. Everything's just loose in place. I can tighten these up because I know they're exactly where they need to be. And then as soon as I get that sensor and these extra bolts, I'll tighten everything up finally for the last time, and this bumper is done. I'll actually be able to put it on the truck. That's exciting. The grille's not quite ready to go in yet, but I do want to make sure everything lines up. So the plan originally was to do a black chrome on these. Have to use some kind of an etching primer, a clear etching primer, and then do a transparent kind of a candy black over them. I really wanted to do that, but it's going to take me probably a day. And I'm running out of time. I'm turning into a tighter time frame on this. I got things that I want to do with this truck, and I'm running out of time, so I'm going to have to just put it together. In order to take these off, I was hoping I could just pop this out of the grill, pop these pieces out, because they are with just some plastic clips, which should be pretty easy to get these out. But in order to get this piece out, it's screwed in from the back side. There's no way to get access to it without taking the whole grill out. Frustrating, because I really want to do that, but it's just going to have to be an extra step next time around when I want to get around to doing some modifications to this truck. Like I say, I'm just running out of time. So I'll snap that in. And then there's some little metal clips that hook onto the back side of these. If I put those on, these aren't coming back off without breaking off those little clips. That's a pretty positive attachment. So I think I'm just going to leave that out for now so that I do have the option of popping these back out, because they're in there. It's a good positive lock. Nice piece. Now this snaps in from the front, and then there's some screws that go in. And there we have it. A little dusty, but that is a beautiful grill. This grill actually sits on the headlights. I need to clean things up. I'll slide that headlight in because that one's the one that's perfect. This grill mounts on top here with 4 bolts, and this piece actually locks into the top of this headlight. I gotta clean this up and get it ready for the headlight. It's interesting, these pieces, the way they mount, there's a backwards threaded nut, bolt kind of a thing, that adjusts out to meet the grill, and then it drives in from the front with the bolt. And the way it's threaded, it doesn't spin back on the threads as it tightens up. So it's pretty ingenious the way they did it. There's 2 of them. There's one there and there's one there. It's pretty interesting. I decided to put everything together and mock it all up, make sure everything was fitting properly. Bumper fits good. It's just a little bit low, so I got to jack it up just a hair. I don't have this lower piece on, but I just wanted to make sure the front fender was going to fit. This fender is so difficult to get to line up. I'm thinking I'm going to paint it on the truck. Then hood-wise, the hood was pretty easy to line up, get perfect gaps, get everything to line up with the nose and latch. So the hood will come back off to be painted. But everything else fits nicely. The headlights aligned well. The top piece is perfectly aligned. The grill, everything looks really good. So now we'll blow it all back apart. And I can paint the hood and fender. Man, this whole front half of the truck is done, and then you just start working on the bed. Now, before I completely take this apart, I want to check all the lights. Make sure they're plugged in. Love those lights. Hey, my fog lights are working. Excellent. It's really all I need to take apart in order to get this fender all prepped and ready to paint. Part of the reason why I want to do it on the truck is I want to paint these bolt heads so that it looks like the factory. The factory on the other side, all of this was painted at once. So if I painted it separately and then put these gray bolts back on, or painted the bolts and then installed them, they just wouldn't have that same factory look. It would be obvious this fender had been on and off. So by painting it on the truck and being real careful to mask everything off, it'll look like factory. This hood, the way this is all painted, I'm just going to mask this area off and just kind of airbrush it in, or maybe even just paintbrush it. I've done it before where you can make it look factory. If you're real careful, get real tedious with a little paintbrush, you can make it look like the hood's never been off. I'll get some help to lift the hood off. I'll get it prepped to paint.